my lane fast, call it high speed. I've been working hard, yeah, I've been working nightly. If you think you'll win, nah, likely. I be taking shots, yeah, cold-blooded, icy. Watching numbers grow is what I call sightseeing. In the front row, run it up when they hype me. The following grows, they know how to ignite me. Call me CEO, I've been running right, see. And I ain't playing games, I create my own lane, making pleasure out of pain, turning losses into...
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to State of the Steelers. Welcome back to the channel on this special live edition this evening, live with one of my good friends, Kris Hendrix. We'll be talking about the Steelers versus the New Orleans Saints. And, well, let's bring him on in. Kris Hendrix, my man, how you doing, buddy?
Doing great, doing great. How's everything going with you?
Dude, everything's going amazing. I'm looking forward to this. I forgot part of my uniform, which are my glasses. Appreciate you coming in. It's a big week. It's a big week for both teams. Both teams are in a little bit of disarray, so to speak, and in need of a victory. How do you feel about this game? You know, how do you feel about your team up to this point? You know, we spoke a little bit before the season started. We were both a little bit on the optimistic side then. How do you feel now? Has anything changed?
Yeah, lots have changed since then. Well, back then, I know my prediction was I figured ceiling was double-digit wins, you know, and I was thinking somewhere along the lines of 10 to 12. Well, we're still possible, but, you know, yeah, we'd have to go on a run. So, in actuality, yeah, I'm not feeling too great about the team right now. The direction, or as well as the leadership, not feeling too good about it.
Right. Yeah, I know that we had spoken about the new coach, Dennis Allen. Sean Payton, surprisingly to some, left randomly out of the blue, and you know you were anticipating a potential a good offensive turnaround or good offensive team, being that he was part of the regime under Sean Payton. You were excited about Jameis Winston. It looks like we're going to see the Red Rifle, though. What is your opinion on Dennis Allen's, what his job to this point, and what is your opinion on the quarterback battle that you guys seem to be having?
Yeah, so and I think I kind of speak for many of us. We're kind of at odds. The direction of the team initially when they hired him was, you know, the overall perspective was, hey, it's continuity, and that's what we're shooting for, was continuity. And you know, at the time, I was actually excited, you know, to have him as a head coach. I wanted to see what he could do. I was really thrilled about, okay, hey, that's continuity. We're going to be able to continue with our defensive coordinator as our head coach, and we got our offensive coordinator still in place. So, hey, let's roll with this. But so far, and I was willing to put aside his Raider career, because I figured at the time, you know, when you're looking at when he became a head coach of the Raiders, he was a first-year head coach, although he'd had, you know, 1 year as a defensive coordinator for the Broncos the previous year before he became a Raiders head coach. And then they had a new GM, and, you know, I know Al Davis had just passed away, and so Mark Davis took over. So new owner too. So kind of in a sense, new ownership. So I just, as of now, the way the Saints are looking, I don't really feel that excited about it. And then when you look at Andy Dalton versus Jameis Winston, there seems to be the fan base, Team Winston, Team Dalton, Team Taysom Hill. So ultimately, you know, honestly, I'm a Saints fan. So I don't care who's the quarterback as long as we win. Like, I don't care if we win 3-2. I don't care if we win 3-0. Like, I don't care who's the quarterback, because I'm always going to be a Saints fan so long as we're winning. But in reality, you know, I believe Jameis, I think the word is out that Jameis is still maybe a little injured. So Andy Dalton looks like we'll be moving forward with him at least until in the foreseeable future.
Got you. And, you know, I know that was a question that we had earlier this offseason. We talked about the quarterback position. You know, at that time, the Steelers were looking at Mitch Trubisky as a possible guy at this point and a possible quarterback for the year. It didn't work out for him. We have the rookie Kenny Pickett coming in, making his fifth start. He's 1-3 at this point. Only victory that he's had has come to the NFC South Tampa Bay Buccaneers, a game that I was at, a game that I enjoyed. He'll be playing against the Saints. a team that he said he got a little bit familiar with during the pre-draft screening. He says that he looked up to Tyrann Mathieu as a safety since he was a safety himself. What is the strength of this defense that the New Orleans Saints still have? Is it the defensive backs? Is it the secondary, or is it up front?
Well, to be honest, technically, even when the season started, we felt that, I think overall, from the fan base, I think we felt that the strength of the team was the D line, started first and foremost with the D line, but the secondary was kind of that strong complement as well. I think, if anything, I feel that the secondary, we had more depth there maybe than on the D line. The D line depth was more at the defensive end position, whereas the secondary was kind of, all across the board. We kind of felt we had depth there. But has it turned out that way? Well, unfortunately, we've had a lot of injuries in the secondary, as well as also kind of traded away a player that most Saints fans are not happy about, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, going to the Philadelphia Eagles for pretty much peanuts. So I would say the defensive line probably still should be the strength of the team, just because there's injuries in the secondary. But unfortunately, we also did lose one of our starting defensive linemen, Marcus Davenport, out of UTSA. We did lose him, so we shall see.
Yeah. I think right now, I think the line is that the Saints are favored by 2.5 points. I honestly, I was surprised by that. I thought, figuring, both teams struggling, the Saints coming off of a Monday night short week, the Steelers coming off of a bye at home, that they might be favored in this game, but Vegas doesn't see it that way. Let's look at the New Orleans Saints injury report. How concerned are you by the injuries that you're going into this game? You have injuries to, Mark Ingram. He didn't participate. Jarvis Landry's been a limited participant this week with an ankle. Marshawn Lattimore hasn't participated with an abdomen. Your center hasn't participated with a calf, McCoy. The guard, Pete hasn't participated with a tricep. Your tackle has been limited. Your linebacker, Pete Werner, is also not participating. Marcus May, your safety, has also had an abdomen. And Cameron Jordan, he's just taking a rest. But that's a long list of key players, in my opinion. How concerned are you, or is this more of a, precautionary on a short week, rest your players type of thing?
Well, to be honest, we've had to deal with injuries quite a bit, especially in the last couple of years, and dating back to last year. In fact, our guard, Cesar Ruiz, who turned center last week when Eric McCoy went down, he was the only lineman that didn't miss a snap last season. So, we've kind of had to deal with injuries, and that's part of the game anyways. Can you win? Because the Saints have always had that next man mentality up, especially when Sean Payton was at the helm. Now under Dennis Allen, that mentality supposedly is still there. It's just hasn't shown on the field. So in reality, you mentioned Jarvis Landry. I mean, we've seen him, maybe 2.5 games, I want to say. Of course, Michael Thomas is on injury reserve now, and haven't really seen him much. He's kind of been MIA for better part of 2 to 3 years now. And so in reality, when it comes to those injuries, we've missed guys. Marshawn Lattimore, he's been out for several weeks now too. I believe he's going into his 4th week, I want to say, 4th game that he'd be missing, 4th or 5th. And so the secondary has actually been okay to a degree, even with Lattimore missing. But I'd like to look at, the teams that we played during those times, not necessarily outside the Bengals. I don't think we really played any teams that were, dominant and throwing the ball around and passing the ball all over the place. So I'd say the concerns are more, can the depth hold up? Because we're kind of been accustomed to, not having key players at different times during the season.
Got you. Understood. Yeah, the Steelers have kind of been on the had a bit of the injury bug as well, especially defensively. We get some pieces potentially back. DeMonte Casey was activated to the 53 today. No word yet on TJ Watt. However, I anticipate him coming back by Saturday. I think that's going to be pretty good. The Steelers are going to need that to stop the offense of the Saints. However, the biggest thing has been for the Steelers has been putting points on the board. They've had a struggle doing that. How do the Saints looked here in recent times against first year starting rookie quarterbacks? Are they demolishing them? Are they giving them a little bit of a break? How they looked so far?
Well, it's interesting you mention that because the history of the Saints, especially in the Sean Payton era, seems more so, I'd say, since probably 2010. I want to say moving forward to the present time. Maybe with not so much last year, but it seems like we had a habit of making first-year quarterbacks or rookie quarterbacks, making their first start look like all-pro or future Hall of Fame quarterbacks. It's been the Saints fan base has been frustrated considerably about that. So it's if you have a situation where hey you're starting a rookie quarterback or first year players first game he's going to be starting, even if he's backup whatever it's going to be his first game he's starting his career. Well, your get right game would be hey let's have this New Orleans Saints on schedule and your guy can look like a promising young prospect at that point in time. And to also bring something up too, when you mentioned about the Vegas spread, I was actually kind of shocked myself because the Saints have been favored in, I want to say, maybe a little over half their games this season, and even on the road games. And it's actually surprising to me too because I honestly thought that if anything, just because the home field advantage that you guys will have, I figured that the Steelers would be favored at least by a point or two. But yeah, that was surprising to me as well, finding that out. With Vegas having the odds, the Saints being favors. But we do play a little bit better, seemingly, on the road than we do at home.
Got you. And Mike Tomlin, I think the Saints are one of the few teams, if not the only team, that Mike Tomlin hasn't beaten as a head coach as a Steelers head coach. So,
that's right, yeah.
The last time the Steelers,
last time,
2006, that was under Bill Cowher, and so last time, you're defeated until you're not. And so hopefully Mike Tomlin climbs over that hill this weekend. The Steelers are getting back some key players. They're getting back T.J. Watt, DeMonte Casey. The defense is looking good. How do you anticipate the New Orleans Saints to be successful to attack this defense? And how do you think what do you think is their plan of attack this upcoming Sunday?
So it seems that the plan that the Saints tend to want to go with Dalton being in the picture as a quarterback, is to be slow and steady. In other words, they want to run the ball. They want to emphasize running the ball. I'll bet I feel at times they don't utilize their weapons enough if they're going to commit to running the ball. And the Saints offense have had trouble staying on schedule, meaning that, penalties have kind of killed drives or put them in bad situations where they're in third and long. And in order for them to stay on the field and kind of give the Saints defense a rest, because they've had it rough too, especially over the last few weeks, minus the Raider game, that was kind of the outlier. The Saints can be can be having self-inflicted penalties, especially on offensive line, because in order for them to at least not just stay competitive, but to make it so that the game doesn't get out of hand if they get behind, they're going to have to cut down on those penalties and not turning the ball over. But I believe first and foremost, what they want to do is they're going to want to attack by running the football. And that's whether they're utilizing Kamara and especially Taysom Hill for those tough yardage situations. In fact, I believe before the Ravens game, I think there was a stat out there that was something along the lines of the Saints had in 31 situations all season. I think the Saints had converted 13 or 14, which is incredible, a 3rd and 1, but of course that stat got messed up playing the Ravens last week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that was a physical game that you guys were playing against the Baltimore Ravens, a team that the Pittsburgh Steelers know all too well. And it could be a physical game. I would like the Steelers to run the ball quite a bit often, just to kind of continue that. It's been a short week. I'm anticipating your guys might be a little bit tired from chasing Lamar Jackson around, and they're three-headed, two-headed, whatever monster you want to call them at the running game when you utilize Lamar Jackson as a running back. I feel that it would probably behoove of the Steelers to be out there trying to add to that and add to the fatigue. So I know you're surprised that the New Orleans Saints are favored. what is your prediction for this game? How do you think it's going to happen, and how do you think it's going to go before we let you go?
Okay, so and with this game, honestly, as you mentioned, the Steelers kind of struggled scoring points. Ironically, the Saints were struggling when Winston was at quarterback, and when Dalton stepped in, their offense actually started to move a little bit smoother. They started putting points on the board a bit, and the turnovers somewhat died down, but not really necessarily. But honestly, I don't really anticipate this game being a high-scoring game. In fact, that's kind of been my mentality with the Saints all season. Especially once they replaced Winston with Dalton. I really anticipate this game. I know in the beginning of the season, I thought it'd be probably somewhere in the 20s for both teams. I honestly think maybe one team might reach 20 points. I could see it really coming down to something like along the lines of a 19-17 game, a 16-18 or 16-19 type of game. In terms of who I think would win, I am going to go with the Saints just because I feel that the Saints tend to be better on the road than they do at home. And they have a decent road record, even dating back to the last 4 seasons. However, since they're not under Sean Payton anymore, I'd like to think that their road record can continue somewhat, since they don't seem to play well at home at times. But my prediction of the score in the game would be, again, somewhere on the lines of like 19-17 Saints win.
Nice. I'm, I'll go over my prediction a little bit later in the show, but I think I'm on the opposite end. Of course, we're both fans of our team. I appreciate you coming on, Kris. Thank you so much for giving us your insight and letting us know about, the Saints and what to expect, so to speak. Do you have any other final words or anything?
Well, I can say from a Saints perspective, being a Saints fan, of course, I always looked at the Steelers as sort of the model organization. That's who the Saints kind of aspire to get to, that level. If anything, we'd love to have 6 of those Super Bowls that you guys have, of course, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, for sure.
But I definitely anticipate being a tough fought game. I expect that, the battle's going to be won in the trenches. And so I feel that whichever team can really, take control of the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball, that should be the team that's going to be victorious in the end.
For sure. In fact, Tom Walker says thanks. Who dat? Hopefully it'll be the Steelers. Who dat? I appreciate you so much, Kris. Thank you for coming on. Maybe we'll have you on after the game just to kind of talk about what the game happened and what happened.
Okay.
And the outcome. All righty, Kris. Thank you so much. You have a great night.
All right. Appreciate it.
No problem. That was Kris Hendrix, y'all. He's a good friend of mine, big Saints fan. We work together. And, I enjoyed his conversation and him coming along. For my prediction on this game and anticipation, I think that it's going to be a hard-fought game. I think there's some injuries on both sides. When you look at the injury report from the Pittsburgh Steelers, you're seeing Myles Jack still not, participating. Witherspoon was put on IR. Levi Wallace, the last time we saw him, he was getting burned again. And so I'm kind of concerned, or extremely concerned, actually, when it comes to the defensive backs. Will Jackson III, the guy that the Steelers just drafted for, hasn't participated this week either with back injury. And so it looks like it's going to be the Cam Sutton and Levi Wallace show, which Cam Sutton is a solid number 2, in my opinion. I think he's probably, when you take out Will Jackson out of the equation, probably the best cornerback that we have on our team. I just feel that, with this game here, the Pittsburgh Steelers, they're going to have to get some pressure on Andy Dalton. I anticipate TJ Watt coming back. DeMonte Casey's already been, brought back to the 53. If Myles Jack can, find his way onto the field and not be, and the knee injury not hinder him or hurt him further, I think this defense can really shut out the New Orleans Saints from scoring touchdowns. Now, I don't think they're going to shut them out completely. I think that the New Orleans Saints are going to be able to move the ball up and down the field and get into position to score. I just don't think that they're going to be putting up a tremendous amount of points on the Pittsburgh Steelers. As Kris has indicated, and we had talked about it before, that the Saints have, struggled when it came to newer quarterbacks and quarterbacks that don't have that much film on them, or a full season of film at least. And, that'll behoove of Kenny Pickett to potentially get on the right path and get on the right, train there. So I'm looking forward to this game. I'm looking forward to, as Tom Walker says, he's looking forward to a good game from Jalen Warren. Jalen Warren was taking a little bit more snaps with the first team over Najee Harris, and I think he's earned it. I really do. But in my opinion, I think this game's going to come down to this defense making some moves and potentially putting this offense in some favorable positions with short fields and maybe even potentially scoring themselves. We do got a little bit of breaking news, y'all, that Jared put in the Jared Devil put in the live chat a little bit earlier, but Jerry Tillery, the 2019 first round pick for the Los Angeles Chargers, was just waived. He's a defensive end. This is possibly a guy that maybe the Steelers could pick up. They need some depth on the line and the edge, and so I wouldn't mind this. I mean, this would be a good move. It just kind of, I looked at it a little bit. It doesn't look like it was injury related. Chargers are just saying that the breakup was necessary for both sides. I'm not really sure what was going on there as far as why there was some disgruntledness, but I think that would be this could be a possible pickup. I know that the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to be high up there when it comes to the waive wire order. And also, in my opinion, the Steelers, they get pretty excited for first round pedigree players. And so this guy might be a guy that, might end up in the black and gold. Who knows? If he does, I highly doubt that he is playing this weekend, but you never know. This is something to keep an eye out and see if maybe potentially the Pittsburgh Steelers are moving forward with this. Now back to the this game this weekend. I think the Steelers are going to win this game. I'm predicting 20-9. And I think that the Steelers are going to be, this is going to be a defensive game for the Steelers. I think they're going to impose their will. They're going to come in a little bit more rested. Also, when it comes to the offense, one thing about going on a bye, it's not just a physical break, it's also a mental one. And I think this team needs one. It just seems that when you look at the all-22 and how many execution mistakes that they're making, it just seems like they might be a little bit overwhelmed at this point. And, getting a week off for mental break or physical break as well, I think that's going to really help out this team this year. And so here's Kris. He says, thanks for having me on. Good luck on Steelers fans. Here's to no more. I'm pretty sure he meant injuries, but inquiries. But yeah, the injury bug has hit us all. Yes, it has. Thank you so much again, Kris. But with that being said, guys, I'm going to go ahead and bring this to a close. I want to remind everybody that we're giving away a couple of tickets this weekend on Saturday night. We're giving away tickets to the Steelers versus Las Vegas Raiders game. That game's on Christmas Eve, so it'll be a great Christmas present for either yourself or a friend or family member. To enter, just be a subscriber, and you have to be present on the live Saturday. So I highly recommend you ring that notification bell. Yes, I was right. No more injuries. Yeah, and so just be a subscriber, be present on the live. We'll probably be going live sometime around probably about 7:00 Pittsburgh time. So be ready for that. Hit that notification bell so that way you're notified of not just that contest, but our daily segments and our weekly lives that we do. We also do a post game live, probably a couple of hours following the game, and I get a lot of folks in there, a lot of interaction in that live. So please hit that subscribe button and hit that like button. That way the algorithm does its thing and puts this out to more people. But with that being said, guys, I think the Steelers are going to win 20-9. It's going to be probably closer than that. I think the Steelers just kind of pull away at the end and win for the first time in a long time without us biting our fingernails and having to make phone calls to the cardiologist. And so I think this might be one that it's a little bit closer early, but by mid third quarter, maybe fourth quarter, the Steelers kind of pull away. Isn't a nail biter at the end. But with that being said, thank you, Kris. Thank you for coming on. I'm Daniel J. This is State of the Steelers.